Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, with the slaughter behind us, we now enjoy the spoils. Though, you know, if anything is spoiled, it's probably my appetite given recent events. Also, I feel like we have ample reason not to indulge whilst we're here, but... Oh. Would you like some water, fair-faced one? Who drinks water at a feast, you dimwit? Hurry up and bring me some amasec. Apologies, my lord. I will open a new bottle at once. But not fetch it from yonder fountain. Interesting. Alright, let's see what Rualdo has for us. Hey, cutie. Rualdo? The governor's hand reaches for the amasec, but flinches under your gaze and abruptly changes trajectory towards the appetizers. Today is a very nervous day, your celestial highness. And when I feel nervous, I eat, and drink, and eat again. That is just the way I am. But, Emperor, have mercy. The food today is to die for. Would you like to have some? I recommend you try the fried alcedont, whose horns were still goring my hunters just the other day. And here we have some five-tailed shrimperiuses in stewed black-eye sauce. These fellows need to be eaten quickly before they scurry off the plate. As for the side dishes, you simply must have a taste of these crispy blabberid shells, seasoned with blue glut. This spice scorches your tongue, but follow it with some amasec and it will feel like the waters of life itself. Wow, you know, I was really kind of leaning away from eating anything anyway, but now I'm starting to think we might have actually struggled to keep it down regardless. Those are some pretty severe skill checks. You know what, Rualdo, I appreciate the offer, but I'm really not here to eat. Doubly so after the recent defacement. I feel it in my heart that we have failed to please you. And of course there were those freaks running wild. This entire celebration, this whole endeavor, has been a tremendous waste. The last words fade into an incoherent mutter as the man's trembling hand reaches for the amasec. My lord, remember what the physician told you. Temperance is the best cure for your ailments. I fear that you have disobeyed his wishes again today. And now I'm paying for it, with a compromised sense of balance and a regrettable inability to admire the disguised imposters. And the hunt is already in full swing. I'm sorry, the what now? Disguised imposters, you say? Solomorn leans over to you. Rogue Trader, once you've had your fill of the governor, let me ask him a few questions. Yeah, sure thing. Governor Rualdo, what's this you mentioned about disguised imposters? Rualdo waves a hand at Maeve. Be a darling and tell our guest about our amusements. I am a little exhausted. Of course, my lord. The imposter hunt takes place every moonlife. Shortly before the event, the servants are thoroughly cleansed of dirt and foulness, combed, dressed in expensive clothing and masks, and invited into the courtyard with the rest of the guests. The nobles hide their faces as well, and then they try to guess who the imposters are. Telling one from the other is quite a challenge sometimes. So you've got disguised random people just wandering around this celebration. A celebration populated with people wearing masks and borrowed faces. You know what? This might not be a grand cult conspiracy after all. It might be something much more ridiculous. The governor suddenly perks up again. And that is the best part. I highly recommend you try it, your celestial highness. It makes for a very interesting change of pace, and On this occasion, the privilege of branding, if you will, falls entirely to you, our honored celestial guest. Okay, I mean, I get the general gist of it, but how would I even be able to tell? I'm a newcomer to your world. I barely understand what's expected of your normal aristocrats, let alone people pretending to be one. By the way they talk, by their lack of restraint. The unfamiliar delicacies overwhelm them so much that they lose control. Impostors are often scared of the responsibility that has fallen on their weak shoulders, and they try to stay close to the real nobles and imitate their rarefied manners. During the hunt, it is most worthwhile to pay attention to separate groups where conversation has already started. A frightened impostor will probably try to hide behind other people's backs. That's all I know, Celestial Lord. I mean, Maeve, it sure sounds like you just described Governor Rualdo, who is over here indulging himself in every manner of luxury, whilst simultaneously shying away every time I try to bring up official business. Which actually does make me rethink this entire situation, because initially I thought it might be Bluff who was really calling the shots. But now we know Bluff is Maeve's sibling. So it might be a brother-sister tag team really calling the shots, whilst this guy could be... I mean, it might not even be Rualdo. It could be a lowly commoner put in place by this game. The whole face-stealing thing could just be a custom he made up to help with the ruse. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I also feel like, given what we're seeing here, it does kind of make sense. Okay, say I find these imposters. Then what happens? Maeve produces a shimmering slate featuring a string of fine inscriptions. This is a data brand, one of our off-world treasures. We handle it with the greatest care, and yet all of Thasara's jewels and miracles cannot compare to the resplendence of your glory, my celestial lord. When you find an impostor, you need only mark them with this wondrous brand. You have a data slate on this feudal world. Maeve might not be a local.
Analyzing. This brand is the property of the Idex Venteris food factory. It was used to mark the meat of high-protein specimens of the planet's fauna. The inscription in Proto-Gothic translates to, "Grox on corpse feed."
Implies a past in food service. At the end of the hunt, we hold a great feast. If you guess at least one of the imposters, you will also win a fine prize. If you guess all four, there will be an even more special reward. I remember at one of the hunts, a servant played the role of a baron so well that all the lords unanimously granted him favor and let him keep the title and privileges of the nobility. Such a thing rarely happens, but who knows what the evening will bring? For tonight, it is you who will determine the worthy, my celestial lord. So this game can be used to ascend a lowly commoner to the rank of aristocrat. Could a baron be elected governor, perchance? Because, you know what? I'm starting to think Rualdo might be a scapegoat, deliberately put in place to take the blame for the missing tithe. Though we might be getting an idea of who's really behind it. Did you just admit that there's masquerading rabble among the Thessarian nobles? Illiterate, with no idea how to collect tithes, or... By the throne, that actually explains so much. The proctor scoffs and glances at the enthusiastic guest. Go ahead, Governor. Commence your charade. The sooner we start, the sooner we finish. The governor lets out an audible gulp. It shall be done, Master Judicator. I will admit, this hunt does sound intriguing. Perhaps I will partake. Solomorn, did you have any other questions for our host? If I can amuse the esteemed judicator with conversation, I will be only too glad to. But of course, I have always wanted to try my hand at casual small talk. Solomorn folds his arms imperiously over his chest, somehow becoming even taller in stature and broader in the shoulders. Tell me about the Laceraxes, Governor. Such fascinating creatures. Where did you get them from? I cannot tell you off the top of my head. Are there not many planets that have Laceraxes? I received these beasts a long time ago as a gift. They're actually sourced from one of my planets, Janus. I've got one myself. I'm surprised you don't know that. The governor throws up his hands. Oh, are they? And I was sure they were a common beastie. I might have embarrassed myself there, but I would be glad to talk about something else. Do not judge me harshly. I was just trying to get into the festive mood as best I can. We can certainly change the subject. I would like to note that I find your youth-extending face transplant procedure amazing. Does Thasera possess any other unique knowledge or items brought over from your homeworld? What is that world called, by the way? My native Idex. Unfortunately, I have not introduced much from it beyond the art of changing faces, but perhaps the Celestial Lord has taken a liking to some of Thasera's original creations. Okay, well, we know that's not true because, aside from getting the name of his own planet wrong, yeah, we know that he did, in fact, bring at least one other item from Idex. The Idex Ventaris data slate, which is used as a pivotal part of the game that he just invited us to play. A game that Maeve explained to us, not him. Okay, I'm starting to feel pretty good about this. You know, come to think of it, I was gifted this Idexian pearl by one of your subjects as a gift. Quite a miraculous device. It grants me gossip from all across the galaxy. Oh, yes, the famous Idexian Pearls of Revelation. I often use them myself to keep my mind receptive to new ideas. Uh-huh. I was interested in the musical servitors. They could only have been brought to you by the Crimson Priests, correct? Can you tell me why they visited this planet? I think they were the Red Robes who arrived to celebrate the ascendance of a new governor. That's me. Rualdo's wistful gaze follows a Shrimperius fleeing the table. Oh, they're still alive. You know what? I'm doubly glad I didn't partake now. Guess that does explain the agility test, though. Curious. I'm a follower of the Omnissiah myself. I'm hard-pressed to imagine what would have brought them to a world like this. Pask, any ideas? The governor shrugs helplessly. I was too overjoyed at their appearance to ask. A gesture of deference, I suppose? Who can ever understand those mysterious Crimson Priests? Indeed. The tech priests are famous for having many vocations outside of pursuing technology and discovering new knowledge. Like music and visits of courtesy. Thank you for the conversation, Governor. I've learned everything I wanted to know. Okay, yeah, so he's gotta be a native Thessarian. Which it does seem like Solomorn picked up on as well. Governor, we'll leave you to enjoy your repast whilst we enjoy the hunt. Besides, I wouldn't mind another chance to tour your lovely town. I'm sure there's a few things I missed my first time through. Marvelous. As soon as you are done with your search, I will be... The governor attempts to rise from the table, but gravity proves to be his superior. Data brand. Leaves an almost invisible holographic mark on anyone it touches. Contains 4 charges. Right, but she also had a slate, so I guess it's a paired... I mean, they need something to be able to read the branding. Actually, that might be what the implants on the Lacerax are for. They never did say what happens to the imposters who get caught, only that the one who wasn't caught was rewarded. Which I'm starting to think might actually be Rualdo. Perhaps you should stay here, my lord? Maeve's gaze is full of genuine concern. I feel you may be right, Maeve. I will be waiting here, surrounded by savory dishes and plentiful amasec. Have a fruitful hunt, your celestial highness. Maeve, bring me a cup of amasec, and make sure it's filled to the brim. Comes an unexpected order from Solomorn. Right, because he wants a moment alone. It will be done, my Lord Judicator. Solomorn waits until Maeve is some distance away, then turns to you. I wanted to talk without the observer they have attached to us overhearing. He casts a sweeping glance around the courtyard and lowers his voice. Do you get the sense that what is happening raises questions that lack coherent answers? You know, I have noted a few oddities since our arrival, but I think at least a few pieces are starting to fall into place. Which ones in particular? Well, the governor, for one, just as a whole. He's been behaving very strangely from the moment we first arrived. The lavish gifts to distract us, his very peculiar personality, the fact that he can't remember the world he claims to have come from. You're not wrong. In particular, I would like to note the governor granting preferential treatment to our attendant. Perhaps he needs her unconditional trust to ensure that she does something. Or, on the contrary, remains uninvolved at just the right moment. Yeah, I had a similar thought, but a slightly different idea of who's really calling the shots. The governor is blaming his indiscretions on excess drink, but he was having a hard time staying in his saddle even when we first arrived. You'd think a proper aristocrat would know how to ride, at least on a world like this one. Not too odd, considering Rualdo's ravenous fondness for food and amasec, but an astute observation nonetheless. Sure, but I think we can both agree that he's clearly not from Idex. In fact, I don't think he's ever been off-world at all. He seems completely clueless as to the workings of the wider galaxy. Precisely. Either he has had an experience so traumatic as to cause him to altogether lose his memory, or we are being played for fools. But, we do know one person who is definitely from off-world. Travisk, the local biomancer. One whom could theoretically reshape flesh? Okay. His work with locally mined stone may be a harmless pursuit, or it may not be. In any event, the fact that the governor employs a sorcerer who's working on his own project is enough to raise questions. Well, considering those stones do seem to be psychic enhancers. Oh wow, that actually opens a whole worm's nest of other possible connections. including perhaps the unusual number of mutants on Thasara. The Thasarian fever could just be primitive understanding of psychic lashback. Something's been bothering me. That last mutant at the execution. He seemed different from the rest. Yes, mutation is a corruption that seldom leaves a person with a sound mind. But what the madman spouted on the scaffold, and what he had done to himself, was beyond the pale. Mutants, mysterious stones, Thasarian fever. Customs about wearing faces and altering your destiny. I can't help but feel that it's all somehow related. The God Emperor alone knows how many cults of him there are. No two planets worship him in quite the same way, but only an heretic would wax poetic about altering a fate that was ordained by the Emperor once and for all. Someone like our friend Gorgorius Fault, perhaps? The writer of the Chronicle of Fates? It does seem like he was somewhat worse the wear after his own attempts to follow the local customs. Borderline heretical, one might say. Not bordering. They are heresy, writ large. But that is not what troubles me. What troubles me is that the madman succeeded in publishing his works. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I did comment that it was curious we weren't finding any random, heretical knickknacks mixed in with the various cargo we found, but I didn't even think about the pages themselves being inherently heretical. I'm not sure it's a cult, though. I think what we might be seeing is the real Rualdo's former servants. Travis, Maeve, Dane, disgruntled former employees who essentially seized the opportunity upon arriving on this backwards world to do away with him or otherwise neutralize him in some way. I mean, it might be just as simple as them, messing with his brain. It might be the real Rualdo. Oh, why is this still here? Okay, I mean, same response. Might just be an oversight. The mutant attack in the square. It seemed like it was triggered, not planned. The captain said something about smoke provoking it, and the attackers did include the noble I had just previously spared. He had no reason to attack us. The attack is unlikely to have been planned. It looked too messy, shall we say. On the other hand, perhaps that's the best this backwater planet can do when it comes to plotting and scheming. Yeah, maybe. Though I guess one thing at least is clear. The governor obviously doesn't want us investigating the matter with the missing tithe. He's trying to keep us distracted. Indeed. At first, one could mistake it for a sycophancy and an attempt to appease the celestial guests. But the longer it goes on, the more apparent the criminal's intent behind this stalling of the inevitable becomes. Yeah, on that, I think we agree. So what do you make of all this? I've got some theories of my own, but I'm curious to hear what you think. I have a theory, but I would like to hear yours first, lest my opinions influence your reasoning. Well, let's see. Oh, interesting. A couple of concepts here I hadn't even thought of. The blacksmith clue we missed may have actually been a hint that whoever is behind this is, in fact, trying to industrialize a feudal world. The rest of these feel pretty vague. I mean, my initial gut instinct was cult because they were all but beating us over the head with it, but now I'm not so sure. It did feel too obvious. So now I'm kind of favoring my absurd new theory about a global scale scheme to essentially hijack an entire planet from its rightful ruler. You know, the details are still kind of fuzzy, but I think it is clear that the stalling isn't without point. They're clearly waiting for something to happen, or perhaps to lure us into something. Likely so. But while we are ignorant as to the nature and purpose of this trap, we have nothing concrete to go on and can only stay on our guard. My hypothesis is that this is not about the tithe. That is merely a pretext to keep us here long enough. But what for? We should play along for now. Let them think we've taken the bait while we wait for an opportunity to seize control of the situation. For that, we need to agree on a signal to launch a coordinated attack. I mean, normally I would prefer to work things out peacefully if at all possible, but it's not a bad idea to have a backup. Sounds good. When I say the Emperor knows. Understood. Maeve returns, taking quick, careful steps along the paved road, a brimming goblet in her hands. Your Amasek, my lord. I haven't spilt a drop. Without a word, the arbitrator hurls the drink on the pavement. The splash of Amasek is like a scarlet wound upon the stone that has been polished by thousands of souls. I mean, I feel like you could have been a mite bit more subtle, but fair enough. Oh, and this puts us right next to Tavrisk, too. And Maeve, of course, who has nothing new to say. So how about Tavrisk?
Is there money to
Also,
be made?
a lady in a golden mask. That's new. Right, so nothing new from Tavrisk either. Interesting. Interesting. A biomancer and a precog who lost his limbs to his former master and then suddenly found himself on a world festooned with psychic-enhancing rocks. An assistant who seemed suspiciously more insightful than her supposed master. A lot of possibilities there. Alright, let's see what's going on over here. Oh, actually, you know what? That's probably part of the game we just engaged in. The imposter hunt, which may simply now be a tradition maintained to help cover up their original power grab. That plus the whole face thing. And then, yeah, we've got 4 new markers here. That's obviously our 4 imposter encounters. All right, okay. Yeah, let's run through that, see if we can glean some additional context, perhaps. I've got to say, I'm actually really getting invested in this particular subplot. A few nobles have gathered around an older man in a fine jacket. His eyes dart back and forth between them. I come from an honored dynasty. You can't... He keeps trying to approach someone, but they all recoil from him, as if he were a leper. The mob's instigator, a lady in a golden mask, exclaims furiously, Oh, listen to the songs of this poor wretch. He thinks that the bath they gave him makes him look like a nobleman. Upon noticing you, the crowd parts. In a peevish voice, the woman drawls, We ask that our celestial lord brand this peasant. Among the hushed crowd, you single out a young woman in a half-mask and a gorgeous dress, who is watching intently from the side. Right, so that's probably our actual commoner. Though I'd be hesitant to call them out, since we kind of can guess what'll happen to them after. Sorry, I just got here. What's going on? The lady in the golden mask curtsies gracefully. Your Celestial Highness, we have exposed one of the imposters. There he is, the one in the jacket, still clinging to his facade. You want to brand him, quickly. The woman who has been keeping her distance now steps closer and whispers to you. My Celestial Lord, I'm begging you to listen to me. This man is a member of a noble family. He is being slandered. You don't say. The old man is terrified. His hands are clutching an expensive cane, bearing an intricate family coat of arms. You would seem to be correct. This man is indeed a noble. Though you obviously are not. So why do you care? She whispers quietly. I'm just a commoner in a fancy dress, my lord. This man is my master. I know I'm supposed to play the part of a rich girl, but I've served many lords, you see, and Sir Timaeus is the only one who treats his servants with gentleness. I want to protect him from these cruel people. And what say you? The woman in a gold mask has accused you of being a commoner. My Celestial Lord knows how ruthless court intrigues can be. My family only recently attained its lofty status, and many here are opposed. He stutters, his teeth chattering in fear. So the Abelard situation all over again. Yeah, some things never change. Well, rest easy, Sir Timaeus. I already know exactly who you are. This young woman here actually just spoke in your defense. The old man adjusts his mask in surprise. His eyes scan the crowd again and come to rest on the finely dressed young woman. That's Renka, my house servant. What is she... protecting me, you say? She has no idea what game she's got herself mixed up in. Forgive me, my girl. His lip quivers as he grips his cane more tightly and breathes in deeply, before suddenly taking a step back. Here she is, the real imposter, the house girl, Renka. She admitted it herself to the Celestial Lord. The old man spits and points his finger at Renka, who shrinks away in fear. How could you schemers even think of deceiving our supreme benefactor? Okay, well that's kind of a jerk move, but I mean, I guess it does kind of confirm that whatever fate awaits those who are branded is not a pleasant one. I guess I can't really blame him for being scared. Which, again, does make sense given the Lacerax. Doesn't exactly take a rocket scientist to figure out where this is all going. The vulturous gazes of the crowd shift to you in anticipation of your verdict. So you all truthfully believe that this man here, Sir Timaeus, was a simple commoner? The loudest amongst the onlookers exchange glances. The woman's golden mask bobs as she offers a deep curtsy. Most certainly, Your Celestial Highness. His plebeian nature is apparent to every self-respecting aristocrat. The woman is not lying, but neither is she being completely candid. The way she looks at the accused speaks of an old, inappeasable hatred, the kind one shows to one's true enemy. And yet we now know that this man is, in fact, a noble. So why are you so intent on trying to convince me otherwise? The lady in the golden mask clears her throat. There is not a word of a lie that we have said. This travesty of a nobleman was granted his privileges less than 100 years ago. A family of upstarts who have elevated themselves through pedalry. For any true-born noble, he is no different from a masquerading peasant. All right, I think we know who's getting branded. A tired sigh escapes Abelard's chest. Thasera has more in common with Dargonis than I first thought. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. Don't worry, I'm on it. The nobles around you hold their breath as they try to read the direction of your gaze. Oh, interesting. We could give it to the servant. Renka? No, she might. Well, no, I mean, we wouldn't want to thrust her into the middle of it, I don't think. We tried that with Maeve, and she rightfully balked. Of course, that was also before we started suspecting her of being the mastermind here. But regardless, we'll fully own this decision. Make sure the brand goes to the truly deserving. I would feel bad about this, but she tried to trick me into branding someone else first, so, you know. The nobles gasp, while the woman stamps her foot and starts flailing her arms. How dare you! I am a descendant of a noble line! I will complain to the governor about this! You hear a few laughs. The people gathered here seem to appreciate the sheer absurdity of anyone trying to threaten you with such a complaint. Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not even sure he's the actual governor. No follow-up from Tomasz or Renka, though. Hopefully things work out with them. I suppose it would be a mite bit awkward after he tried to throw her under the bus, but they both came through, and the rightful perpetrator was punished. Again, not that I necessarily want her to be eaten by Elaceraxes, but also she tried to get someone else at first. Alright, so we're looking for priests on the lower path.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
Here we go. The two men in clergy robes are bickering loudly. The older of the pair is eating with great appetite, while the younger one watches him in disgust. Your overindulgence is pure hypocrisy. A true servant of the faith would have abstained. The old priest shoots his companion a glance over the plate. A true servant of the faith must keep his strength up, so that he may offer the God Emperor not just words, but deeds as well. The young man flushes when he notices your gaze. Celestial Lord, how fortunate is your arrival. Only you can solve this conundrum and decide which of us is the true clergyman of noble birth, and which is the arrogant impostor. Oof, that's a tough check. That is something I've noticed with this DLC. They treat raw attribute checks as if they were skill checks. But really, they shouldn't be. Awareness really should be the skill we're tapping, not just our raw perception. It's the same with those ballistics checks we ran into earlier. Or the feast. The feast was ridiculous. Yeah, that seems about right. Apart from their age, the two men before you look fairly similar. All servants of the Ecclesiarchy are as one in their indomitable faith. Right, I'll have to ask some questions then. The old priest gives you a reserved nod. Meanwhile, the younger one turns his entire body to face you, like a student being evaluated. Okay, well, I mean, just based on body language alone, I feel like we can already say the old priest is probably the imposter. The old man's overindulging, he's reluctant to engage. What would you say the role of knowledge is in the Imperium? There are no barriers to learning the word of the Emperor. and to conquering all that he has given unto us. Have you read the manuscripts of our scribe, Gorgorius Fault? I hear he has left his craft behind now, but his research shines on with the light of true worship. Probably not the best person to hold up as an example, but appropriate for this particular backwards world, given their very peculiar customs. Another point in the young priest's favor, I think. Knowledge depraves the soul, as does reading letters that are not meant to be read. The old priest furrows his brow at the young man's passionate words. Okay, so an excuse to not read, a possible dodge to hide illiteracy. Cassia shakes her head. Their judgments are like the two sides of a single coin. There is value in both, but neither one constitutes the whole. And tell me, what awaits the Emperor's servant after death? Both priests ponder the question for a while. The older is the first to speak up. Should they serve faithfully, the Emperor will preserve their soul in his halls. The young priest gives you a broad and sincere smile. It is customary on Thasera to believe in sacred reincarnation. Thus, the worthy may serve the Emperor for all eternity. This fool says he yearns for everlasting service. He does not hear the Undying One laughing quietly at his words. It is not this man's destiny to serve him for eternity. It is to leave meekly when he whispers, "It is time." You have encountered many variations of the God Emperor's cult in your time, but never have you heard of reincarnation after death. A religious teaching such as this seems strange and exotic, even for a nondescript, half-forgotten planet like Thasera. Yeah, but I mean, I could also say the same about wearing faces or changing your fate. Thasera's clearly got some very peculiar beliefs. By what name are the warriors born from the blood of the Emperor's sons known? The heralds of the Celestial Master, gods among men. The young preacher's eyes are alight with awe. The Emperor's angels. They descend upon the land to smite down his enemies. You see respect in the old man's eyes. And fear. Okay, yeah, that's clearly our commoner. The young priest is definitely more the image of a young, naive noble, whilst the older has much simpler, more pragmatic views, and a healthy respect for representatives of the Empire, the elite of the Empire. Myself included, since, obviously, just based on body language, he was nervous from the moment we first started asking questions. Fearful of the Emperor's righteous punishment, perhaps? Though I've got to say at the same time, I'm not really eager to condemn either of these individuals. Both have their own ways of looking at the world, but neither really seems to have painted themselves quite so contemptibly as Our Lady in the Golden Mask. I am going to feel pretty bad if I'm throwing one of these poor guys to the Lacerax. But if I have to choose someone, it's probably going to be an old man over a young and naive one. Okay, I think I've heard enough. I'm ready to make my decision. The priests look at you with reserved curiosity and apprehension. Oh, man. Okay, so we do have to choose. There's no clever outs. All right, well, sorry, old man. Valiant effort, though. You almost had me. The old man grits his teeth and turns to the young priest. My blood may be fouler than coal, but at least I've earned my robes. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so he was also a priest, but like a lower class priest. Which, you know what, that actually does explain the difference in their outlooks. I do hope he gets out of this okay, but I'm not holding my breath. And we are officially running long. But let's at least wrap up the hunt before we call it. What's up, boy? Oh, okay. So he's reacting to, I think, an empty container. We found, yeah, I think we, like, rummaged through a bag there on the way in. That might be why he barked at seemingly nothing back near the horses that one time. In the wavering torchlight, you see a glint of steel. One of the jacket-clad young men is pressing a blade against the other's ribs. A mask lies discarded at the attacker's feet. The trembling victim cries out, Your Highness! Save me! Do not interfere, outsider. This man deserves to be punished, along with all of Thasara's rotten elite. They see people as just things to be worn. Let him look me in the eye and find out what it feels like to be cut to pieces. You realize that the weapon pressed against the victim's body is none other than a pair of expertly sharpened tailor's scissors. Solomorn casts an indifferent glance at the pair. Local folk and their strange amusements. They're not worth our time. I beg to differ. I cannot stand idly by whilst such sheer carnage takes place. The victim sucks in a ragged breath. He's a tailor from the lower city. He's gone mad. He thinks I'm wearing the face of his brother, my valet. The attacker visibly loses his cool. Admit it. You killed him and took his face so you could wear it instead of a costume. I haven't heard from my brother in a moon life. Blackness has utterly enshrouded this man. How can one dispense righteous punishment in such blinding darkness? Cassius shudders and looks away. The noble lord's features are stretched and distorted. The edges of his neck, forehead, and cheeks are fastened at the side with fine gold thread. Peering into the nobleman's face, you realize that the stretched skin is his own. You see no scars or stitches. It appears this is merely his way of improving his looks, then imitating people of higher standing. Gross, but also probably the most ethical approach we've seen to this local custom. Like a medieval facelift. Alright, that's enough of that. You capture the scissors and deftly plunge them into the attacker's knee. Sensing his tormentor's grip weakening, the victim slips free and hides behind you. I mean, I didn't mean for it to be that violent, but I guess he did kind of have it coming. This madman bribed the guards so that they would ignore my cries. I'm sure they'll be singing a different tune when they find out the Celestial Lord had to intervene personally. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were saying something about the Sara's elite? They're parasites. They tear whoever they want into pieces. These scum squeeze into a person's skin like it's a suit that's 2 sizes too small, splitting the seams in the process. The vigilante stares at you without blinking, his eyes glassy. Skin suits and splitting seams? Preposterous. Your brother was rewarded for his talent with the best assignment he could hope for. Maybe he just decided he wanted nothing to do with you anymore. The nobleman's voice cracks. He's on the verge of tears. Your Celestial Highness, if such were your will, you could send servants to the dressmaker this very moment, and find this man's brother alive and well. His words are soaked in gray, with flashes of copper desperation breaking through. But of the swampy muck of deceit, I see nothing. Yeah, look, buddy, I know you're worried about your brother, but this man isn't wearing his face. He's wearing his own. Do not be deceived. Look closer. This scoundrel is simply hiding his stitches. He thinks he can trick an expert tailor, but it's a wasted effort. Uh-huh. Look, why don't you tell me more about this valet? Maybe I will go track him down. The nobleman eyes his attacker fearfully. It's very simple, Your Celestial Highness. His younger brother has a way with clothes. I noticed him when I was looking for new servants, and I sent the boy to apprentice under a renowned dressmaker in the upper quarters. I thought I would make him my valet, you see. But then this fool decided that I took his brother, not because of his talent, but to use him for my rejuvenation. Why would I even need a new face? I haven't even worn out my own yet. Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be the case. Also, we can actually spare them both this time. Interesting. I wonder why we couldn't... This is the first time it's given us an option to simply not brand anyone. The question being, is it a good idea? I mean, in theory, this guy is apt to calm down once he realizes his brother is, in fact, still alive. But who's to say he wouldn't do something stupid anyway? But I suppose, out of respect for the teachings of St. Drusus, we'll at least give him a chance and hopefully won't end up regretting it. Get out of here. Your brother's probably fine. But if you're really worried about him, go find this dress shop and see if he's there. But, Your Highness... You can wriggle, you can run, you can cower behind others' backs, but there is no hiding from justice. It will pierce you right through, like a needle. Just give it time. Alright, well now you're giving me immediate second thoughts on letting you go, but I guess it's too late to change my mind. Well, good luck. I hope for your sake you were telling the truth about his brother. And one more to go. Let's wrap this up. And this one's actually got a name. The young noblewoman's hair is disheveled, her bodice stained with grime, and her mask pushed clumsily on top of her head. Holding her skirt high, she's trying her hardest to fight her way past the guards blocking the door. Just let me go, please, for throne's sake, she exclaims when the guards yet again push her aside. The woman notices you and attempts something resembling a curtsy, but stumbles and falls to her knees. I'm done. I just can't take it anymore. You're our celestial lord, aren't you? It would certainly seem so. And I take it that you are not, in fact, a noble? I'm a ditka, your graciousness. I'm not a noble, not one bit. I just do the laundry and bleach the linens. I've never mixed in high society in my life. Forgive a fool, your graciousness. You are forgiven. I am curious, though. Why would you not play the game by the rules as described? Aren't you supposed to pretend in hopes of earning some reward? But I don't want no reward, my lord. I want to get back home. The woman hangs her head and clutches the lace frills on her dress. Her breathing stutters as she is racked with silent sobs. Let me ask you this, Editka. Why are you so eager to escape? What happens if you get caught? I want to get away before they start putting those brands on us. For the tricksters. I'm no kind of trickster, can't you see? I couldn't fool a Grox. Then why participate in the game in the first place? He asked, as if he didn't already know the answer. It's not like they asked me nicely, your graciousness. They grabbed me, shoved me in this dress, and threw me in here. Nobody here was asked. But I don't want to be anybody's toy. I have 3 boys and a girl. We starch our lords' and ladies' undergarments, and we work our fingers to the bone just to get enough scraps for the day. She shows you her calloused hands, mottled red from chemical burns. Right, yeah, that's what I thought. So you want to leave? I can probably help you with that. Gripping the frills of her fabulous dress in her coarse, white-knuckled hands, the woman looks up at you. Please, your graciousness, by the God Emperor, just let me leave. Nobody who gets put in one of these get-ups ever comes back. If I stay, I won't see my home again. I just know it. I haven't done anything wrong. Wait, what do you mean by that? What happens to the people who play the game? He asked. Again, probably knowing the answer. Just that, your graciousness. It doesn't matter if you get branded or not. Once the hunt is over, you're gone. This place is like a Grox pit. There's no way back, but I want to live. I want to be useful. Please, please let me go home. Man, I really am going to feel bad for that old man if he ends up getting it. Though thankfully, Aditka will be spared that fate, whatever it might be. Guards, I think it's clear this woman doesn't belong here. Let her out at once. Hey, Achivo. Lacking the courage to object to your demand, the guards reluctantly step aside. As the woman turns to look back at you, you see wet trails on her guileless face. Thank you, Celestial Lord, you sweetheart. I'll never forget your kindness. She bows low and vanishes into the darkness. And thus our hunt ends, as heralded by both our journal pop-up and an unexpected Achivo, which I really wouldn't have expected to get unless we had, like, selected all the right imposters or all the wrong ones, perhaps. I do find myself somewhat curious as to how things might differ were we to fully side with or against the nobles in the various scenarios they presented us with.
I always keep my options open.
That said, I do think this is a good place to call it. Though it's getting a bit worn down anyway, so we'll hit the pause button for now. I'm going to do another lap around the city, poke around, see if there's anything else we might have missed. And we will pick up here next time, as we put an end to these frivolous games. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.